President-elect Trump's pick for Director of National Intelligence is facing criticism from prominent Republicans. Former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley says she has major issues with Tulsi Gabbard's candidacy. Haley's highlighting Gabbard's past comments that run counter to U.S. intelligence, including blaming NATO for the invasion of Ukraine and her decision to meet with Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad in 2017.
So now she's defended Russia, she's defended Syria, she's defended Iran, and she's defended China. Now, she has not denounced any of these views, none of them. She hasn't taken one of them back. DNI, Department of National Intelligence, this is not a place for a Russian, Iranian, Syrian, Chinese sympathizer. DNI has to analyze real threats. Are we comfortable with someone like that at the top of our national intelligence agencies?
Meanwhile, Trump's former national security advisor John Bolton says Gabbard's judgment is non-existent, saying her nomination should give our adversaries in Moscow and Beijing a lot of relief. Let's bring in State Department reporter Shannon Kingston, along with ABC News contributor and former senior CIA field operative Darrell for more. Shannon, where does Gabbard stand on foreign policy issues, and why are her past comments drawing so much scrutiny?
Well, Diane, Gabbard says she's under attack now because she's a pacifist, but her critics on both sides of the aisle, they say there's a big difference between pushing for peace and with being a Putin sympathizer. Now, as you mentioned multiple times, she has slammed the Biden administration for calling the war in Ukraine Putin's war, claiming it was actually NATO and the U.S. that pushed Putin to invade the country. She's also spread misinformation from Russia, the very same kind of conspiracy theories that the U.S. intelligence community works to highlight and disband and discredit. So really, this is something that has been a target on Tulsi's back for some time. And it's not just the Kremlin that's drawn some controversy here. She also met with Syrian authoritarian leader and war criminal Bashar al-Assad in 2017, the height of that country's civil war.
Darrell, having worked in the intelligence community, what's your reaction to Gabbard's nomination?
Initially, Diane, I was just probably as concerned as everybody else, but then I started to look into her other past. She has served on the Armed Services Committee, on the Foreign Affairs Committee in the House, and on the Homeland Security. She's a former combat medic. She's got a lot of exposure on the military side, and no, she does not quite stack up in terms of credentials with any of the 9 past DNIs, but her role is as a clearinghouse, so to speak, and she doesn't have any real operational control over any of the other 17 members of the IC or any fiscal control over them as well. So she will be limited in what she can actually execute.
Yeah, and Darrell, I want to talk a little bit more about that, because how much power would Gabbard have as Director of National Intelligence, and what role do you think she could play in dealing with American adversaries?
Our American adversaries, whether it's the Bashar Assad from 2017 or some of the Putin comments, as an intelligence officer, as an operations officer, we have to deal with some of the more, shall we say, questionable characters in the world. So that really doesn't concern me. Her doing it outside of connecting with and collaborating with the intelligence community writ large is a problem. But her power is going to be limited. Her power is going to be limited in terms of the relationships that she has with the USDI, the top military intel guy at DIA, at CIA, at NSA. And again, she's very strong on the military side in terms of her past experiences, and half of the intel community is Department of Defense. So perhaps she's got some allies in there that could help her, but she cannot do it without full collaboration of the other agency heads.
Shannon, how are Gabbard and the Trump transition team defending her past comments, and how likely is she to get confirmed?
Well, really, the Trump camp hasn't said too much when questions arise about comments she's made in the past, they point back to President-elect Trump's statement announcing the nomination, highlighting what he says is her fearless spirit that she'll bring to the role. Now, there's no sign right now that her support among Senate Republicans is eroding. Even the hawkish members of the party say they want to hear her out. But we might see some critics take the approach that Trump's former ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, took. She highlighted the differences and many times that Tulsi Gabbard and President Trump clashed during his first term in office, especially over Iran. And we do expect the president-elect will be watching these confirmation hearings closely, so that might actually erode her support with Trump.
All right, Shannon Kingston, Darrell Blocker, thank you both.